Michael Nabong, and the two topics that we chose were the dangling participles and the misuse of the subjunctive
My name is
mood.
Hanss, and I'm teaching you guys the subjunctive and the misuses of it. So, background of the subjunctive: it's a verb in a subordinate clause, and it's most commonly known as hypothetical or if-then statements. And the statements are contrary to fact, and it can also be used to emphasize urgency or importance. And here's the four main categories of the subjunctive. So you have the contrary to fact statements. If she were here, we could have fun. The wishes is I wish she would love me. And commands or request is the teacher ordered that we be silent. And the fourth one is motions and resolutions. And be it resolved that we become silent. So this is the verbs in the present subjunctive, and these verbs are most commonly used for commands or requests. So the present subjunctive, in the indicative form, the verb is I am, you are, he, she, or it is, and we or they are. And then you can see the change in subjunctive. It goes to I be, you be, he, she, or it be, and we or they be. And so an action verb, indicative and subjunctive, is the verb to work we did. So I work, you work, he, she, or it works, and we or they work. And in the subjunctive, not much change, just in this form here, it's I work, you work, he, she, or it work, and we or they work. And now some conditions in the present subjunctive. In the indicative, it is I am working, you are working, he, she, or it is working, we or they are working. And in the subjunctive, it changes to be, so that I be working, you be working, he, she, or it be working, and they or we be working. So these are verbs in the past subjunctive mood, and the past subjunctive mood is usually used for the wishes or in hypothetical situations. So in the indicative, it's I was, you were, he, she, or it was, and we or they were. And right again, the only change is in the he, she, or it category here. It's I were, you were, he, she, or it were, and we or they were. And some conditions in the indicative. It is I was working, you were working, he, she, or it was working, and we or they were working. And here again, the changes is I were working, you were working, he, she, or it were working, and we or they were working. So the only changes in these two are in the he, she, or it category. Okay, so a big part of the subjunctive mood is the conditional tenses, and these are the if-then statements, which is the biggest part of the subjunctive, is if-then hypothetical situations. And the two parts of the if-then statements are the subordinating if clause and the independent then clause, which make up the if-then make up the statements, which are hypothetical. Alright, so here we have some of the most common misuses of the subjunctive, and the first one is using the word was instead of were. So an example sentences here are he would show love if he were nicer, and he would show love if he was nicer, and the correct use of it is the first one where it says if he were nicer, and the second one is using are or is instead of be. And these sentences sound a little weird, the correct one, but the incorrect one is if you are nicer, you will show love. And the correct one is if you be nicer, you will show love. So there's subjunctive mood for you guys. I hope you learned something today. And
The review of the misuse of the subjunctive mood. Here's examples of them being wrong, and you gotta figure out what's wrong with them. So first example, if I was happier, I would show more love. Number two, I wish he was loving. Number three, the teacher requested that we are loving. And the last one, be it resolved that we are loving.
Hi, my name is Gabe, and I'll be teaching you about the dangling participles. Participles or participle clauses may be at the beginning or end of the sentence, and a participle clause is usually attached to its subject. An example would be walking down the street, the woman saw the beautiful house. The walking down the street part underlined is the clause, the woman is the subject, and saw the beautiful house is the object. However, when the subject is missing or the participle attaches itself to another object in the sentence, the clause is seemingly hanging, in nothing or on an entirely inappropriate noun. Then it becomes a dangling participle. Examples of dangling participles would be walking down the street, the houses were beautiful. At age 8, my family finally bought a dog. Reaching the station, the sun came up. Sometimes it's not clear
Let's go.
which of two possible words a modifier modifies. An example would be, Jane is allergic to raw apples and almonds. And it's hard to tell whether or not she is allergic to only raw almonds or all almonds, or even roasted ones. And a much clearer version would be, Jane is allergic to almonds and raw apples. Dangling modifiers include verbs and are especially common and sometimes difficult to spot. An example would be, having bought the guitar and now need a tuning. This sentence isn't that great because it's not mentioned on who is actually buying the guitar. And so one way to fix this is to insert the name of someone to make two halves of the sentence parallel in form. The correction would be, Bill, having bought the guitar, needs to tune it. And if you have a person in mind, it's easier to forget that the reader needs to be told about the person, but he or she just can't understand the sentence.
The review for the dangling participles. And here are some examples. These are all wrong, and how would you fix these? Running down the street, Taco Bell is close by. Number 2, flying towards Florida, Disney World is nearly touchable. Number 3, talking with the neighbors, the love was felt. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Thanks for watching. You guys were a great audience. I hope you learned a lot.
Yeah. Seriously, I really
a lot
did.
about everything.
All right.
And hopefully you don't make these mistakes anymore because they're pretty bad mistakes.
We're really good at teaching.
If you have any questions, just come ask us.
Yeah.
Or ask us.